On June 25, 2025, a line will be crossed. This is not speculation, not a theory, not another date to be passed over and forgotten. It is a convergence, a divine appointment hidden in plain sight, an intersection in time when things long foretold begin to touch the present, when the physical mirrors the spiritual, when what has been building in silence begins to shake the visible world. For those with eyes to see and ears to hear, this day has been marked not by the hand of man, but by the design of something greater. The calendar of heaven is not like ours. It moves according to appointed seasons, not convenience. And June 25, 2025 is not just another Wednesday. It is an appointed time. A mystery unfolds here, one that began long before any of us were born. The story of nations, the story of covenants, the rise and fall of kings, empires, and ideologies, all of it moves toward moments like this. This date, insignificant to the world, holds weight in the realm unseen. Why? Because it is the day where alignments reach their tipping point. When what has been tolerated becomes judged, when the mask of the system begins to fall off. For years we've watched the world drift. From light to shadow, from truth to lies, from reverence to rebellion, and the system. The very infrastructure of modern civilization has been the stage on which this rebellion has played out. It is the system that has called evil good and good evil, that has taken the sacred and made it profane, that has lifted up idols in the name of freedom, that has silenced the truth under the banner of tolerance. The same system that now tells the children of the covenant to be quiet, to sit down, to conform, but heaven does not remain silent forever. There comes a time when the long suffering of God reaches its boundary, when the warnings are over and the shaking begins. That time is now approaching, and June 25 is not a random date. It is the signpost of a breach in the wall, a gap in the hedge, a moment when what was restrained begins to be released. For the chosen, this is not a time of panic. It is a time of perception. You must see what others do not. You must discern beyond what the headlines show. On that day, the world will keep moving. The sun will rise, the systems will hum, and the people will go about their business. But something deeper will have shifted. You will feel it in your spirit, not your senses. The alignment is not just political or social, it is prophetic. It is spiritual warfare manifesting in the structures of man. And as these alignments take shape, the systems begin to strain. Like a machine pushed past its limit, the gears grind, the circuit overloads, the warnings blink red, and the system fails. But hear this, the failure of the system is not your defeat, it is your deliverance. It is the breaking down of Babylon so Zion can rise. It is the tearing of the old so the remnant can emerge. It is the collapse of illusion so truth can be revealed. That is why the chosen must be awake. You cannot be caught asleep on this day. You cannot be entangled with the very thing that is about to fall. If you place your trust in the system, you will fall with it. But if your eyes are set above, if your feet are planted on the rock, you will stand when others fall. This moment will separate the true from the false, the committed from the compromised, the wheat from the chaff. It will not be announced on your news feed. It will not trend on social media. It will be revealed in the Spirit. And those who are walking with God will know it. June 25, 2025 is a crossroads. For the world, it will seem like nothing. But for the kingdom, it is everything. For on that day, decisions will be made in secret that will shape the days ahead. Hearts will be weighed, foundations will be tested, and the Lord will begin to move his hand in ways the world has not yet seen. The chosen must be ready, not with fear, but with fire, because when the system fails, heaven will rise. They built it to last forever, the system, the machinery of nations, the blueprint of control, the empire of modern man. They said it was progress, they said it was freedom. They told us we were moving forward, evolving, advancing. But what they built was never meant to last, because anything built on sand must eventually collapse. And collapse is coming. The illusion was powerful. It wrapped itself in promises. It offered comfort, convenience, control. But it came with a price. To enter the system, you had to bend. To stay in the system, you had to bow. And slowly, the world bowed lower and lower, until truth became offensive, righteousness became dangerous, and evil was applauded as courage. They engineered a world without God. And when a world cuts itself off from its creator, it begins to decay from within. That decay is now visible. What was once hidden in the shadows is now paraded in the streets. What was once shameful is now celebrated. The system told us this was freedom, but it was bondage in disguise. Look around, the cracks are already there. Economies tremble, leaders fall, technology falters, trust is broken. People are angry, divided, anxious, addicted, confused. The soul of civilization is weary, and deep down, even the unbeliever knows something isn't right. Something is wrong with the system. Because the system was never about truth. It was about control. It promised order, but produced chaos. It promised peace, but sowed fear. And every time the chosen rose to speak, it sought to silence them. Because the truth is the one thing the system cannot tolerate. On June 25, 2025, the illusion will thin even more. The veil will rip further. What has been hidden behind closed doors will begin to leak into the open. And those who built their hope on this system, on its politics, its ideologies, its comforts, will feel the tremble. For the system cannot hold the weight of the judgment that is coming. But judgment does not always arrive with fire from heaven. Sometimes it comes through collapse, through exposure, through failure. The failure of the very things we trusted in more than we trusted in God. And when the system fails, many will be stunned, not because they didn't sense it, but because they ignored the signs. This is not just about governments or economies, this is spiritual. The spirit of the age has embedded itself into every part of life. Into media, education, entertainment, law, even the church. It has whispered compromise in every ear. And many accepted it because they feared rejection more than they feared the Lord. But the chosen were never meant to fit into the system. They were called out of it, set apart, marked not for comfort, but for conflict, not for popularity, but for purity. And the time of pretending is coming to an end, because when the system fails, those who pretended will fall with it. Yet those who stood outside of it, those who refused to bow, will not be shaken, because their foundation is not built on trends or titles. It's built on the Word, the voice, the fire, and on that day, when confusion floods the world, the chosen will begin to shine. Not with the glow of popularity, but with the light of truth. You must understand this. The failure of the system is not a tragedy for the kingdom. It is a turning point. Because when the fake collapses, the real can rise. When the imitation breaks, the authentic emerges. God often tears down before he builds up. He allows the shaking so that only what cannot be shaken will remain. So do not fear what is coming. Fear only being unprepared, because this system will fall. It is already falling. But you are not called to fall with it. You are called to stand, to speak, to be a voice in the wilderness, to be a flame in the darkness. And when others panic, you will walk in peace. When others curse, you will bless. When others scatter, you will remain, because your system is not of this world. You belong to a different kingdom, a higher rule, an unshakable government, a throne that will never be voted out, never corrupted, and never shaken. And in the hour of failure, you will finally see what it means to be free. Not all who wear the name are walking the walk. This is the mystery of the remnant, the hidden few among the many, the ones who have not bowed their knees to the altars of culture. the ones who still burn with the fire of the early church, even when the world has gone cold. And as the system begins to fail, the time of the remnant begins to rise. You see, in every age, there are those who blend into the crowd, and then there are those who stand apart. There are those who go along with the flow, and those who swim upstream. There are those who live to be accepted, and those who live to be set apart. And though they are often invisible to the world, they are always visible to God. The chosen are not defined by their stage, their spotlight, or their title. They are defined by their obedience. They are the ones who chose him when it cost something. The ones who said yes when it was easier to say no. The ones who laid down their comfort, their dreams, their plans, because they heard the whisper of the Holy One calling them deeper. On June 25, 2025, the veil will thin not only over the world, but over the church. This is a hard word. But truth must be spoken. For too long the lines have been blurred. For too long compromise has been rebranded as compassion. For too long truth has been watered down to make it palatable. And while the buildings grew, the altars crumbled. While the followers multiplied, the power disappeared, but the remnant never forgot. They never stopped burning. They never stopped weeping. They never stopped praying when others stopped believing. They are the hidden intercessors, the secret worshippers, the unseen warriors, and when the shaking comes, they will be the ones who remain. This is the calling of the remnant, to stand in the gap when the gap grows wider, to be faithful when faith becomes rare, to speak when silence is demanded, and to love truth more than comfort, more than popularity, more than self. There will be a revealing, make no mistake, a great revealing. On that day and in the days that follow, masks will fall. Hidden motives will be exposed. The line between the faithful and the familiar will become clear, and many who were known will fade, while many who were hidden will rise. Do not look for them in the spotlight. Look for them in the secret place, in the prayer closets, in the midnight cries, in the humble hearts and broken spirits. That is where the oil has been stored. That is where the fire has been kept alive. The world will not understand it. Even some in the church will not recognize it. Because the remnant doesn't play by the system's rules, they don't market themselves. They don't water down the word to draw the crowd. They don't chase relevance. They chase righteousness. They are those who tremble at his word. They are those who still repent. They are those who care more about heaven's applause than earth's approval. And when the system fails, they will not be surprised. Because they never trusted it, their eyes were always set higher, their treasure has always been somewhere else. They have built their lives on something eternal, and now the hour is coming when that foundation will be tested and proven. But hear me now, this is not a moment to become arrogant. The remnant is not better. They are justing surrendered. They are not elite, they are broken. The calling comes with cost. It is not a badge, it is a burden. But it is holy. God is not looking for the loud. He is looking for the loyal, not the clever, but the consecrated. Not the polished, but the pure. Not the ones with platforms, but the ones with prayer lives. And the Spirit is calling even now. He is whispering to the hearts that still listen, come out, come up, come away, be holy, be ready, be found faithful. Because the time of blending is ending, the season of hiding is closing, the hour of the remnant has come. It is time to stand. There is a storm coming not of rain or wind, but of truth and fire. And when it comes, everything that is not anchored will be shaken. Fear will sweep across hearts like a flood. Even the strong will feel the tremble. Even the bold will feel the pressure. And the world will look for answers in the voices of men, in the systems they trusted, in the wisdom they exalted. But it will not be found there. Because the answer is not found in the system. The answer is found in the ones who were never part of it. The chosen, the remnant, those who did not sell their soul to comfort, those who kept the flame alive in secret while the world was distracted. They were not built to avoid the storm. They were built to rise through it. You were never called to run from the shaking. You were called to stand in the middle of it and shine. This is the moment the enemy has feared, not the collapse of the system, but the rise of the faithful. Because when everything breaks, the true ones emerge. When everything falls apart, the ones who were hidden become the standard bearers. But you will feel it. You will feel the weight of the moment. The voices of fear will try to invade your peace. The spirit of confusion will try to wear you down. The pressure will be real. The headlines will scream. The world will groan, and the temptation will come. To retreat, to withdraw, to stay silent, to wait it out. But you were not chosen to hide. You were chosen to move forward while others fall back. You were chosen to speak when others are silent. You were chosen to be a pillar when others are falling. You were chosen to be the evidence that light still exists in darkness. And you overcome not by your strength, but by your surrender. You overcome not because you are fearless, but because you have learned to fear only one. You overcome because your identity is not in the shifting winds of culture. It is rooted in the unshakable word of the living God. So when fear comes, and it will, you answer it with fire, not fire that destroys, but fire that endures. The fire of conviction, the fire of purpose, the fire of the Holy Spirit inside of you. That fire will carry you when your mind is overwhelmed. That fire will speak through you when your voice trembles. That fire will keep you standing when everyone else is collapsing. You were never alone in this. He is with you in the storm, and His presence is greater than the pressure. You are not expected to endure in your own strength. You are expected to remain connected to the source. To abide, to trust, to obey even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. This is what it means to be chosen. It doesn't mean you won't feel pain. It means your pain has purpose. It doesn't mean you won't be shaken. It means you won't be destroyed. You may weep, but your weeping will not drown your worship. You may be hit, but you will not be held down. Because inside of you is something stronger than the storm. And when the world sees you stand while everything else falls, they will ask, what is it that keeps you from breaking? And your life will answer, it is not me, it is Him. This is not the time to look for a way out. This is the time to look up. Because the King is not absent, He is watching. And those who endure, those who overcome, those who do not give up in the night, they will be raised up in the dawn. Let the world shake. Let the system fall. Let the storm rage, but you stand. Stand clothed in righteousness. Stand filled with the Spirit. Stand rooted in the Word. And when you've done all you can to stand, stand again. Because the fire in you is not of this world, and neither is your reward.